Hi, welcome to the BD Roundtable. We're here today with Katie Rosser. Katie is a director at Seldon Rosser, a well-respected and recognized recruitment company based out of Australia, and they help professional services firms across the Asia-Pacific region. On our call, we talk about developing our profiles, how to maximize utility, and general best practices. As a business development person, right, when we set up our LinkedIn account, we kind of just set it and forget it and expect it to do all the work for us. And then when we do get a job, right, in a firm, we spend all of our time building up the firm's profile, building up the lawyer's profile, and we tell the lawyers, hey, you really need to have an active LinkedIn account, and yet we don't, right? So why can you explain a little about why it's even important, and does it really matter? Should we be spending a lot of time on profiles, and just kind of walk through the process of, do we need to do this?
Well, first of all, if you have one and set it and forget it, that's better than not having one at all. And interestingly, I've had a couple of candidates over the last 2 or 3 years that did not have a LinkedIn profile, and that was a real barrier to them getting a job in this industry. The CMO view was, if you don't have your own profile, how are you going to be coaching partners on being progressive with their digital profile when you're not leading from the front and doing it yourself? And so, I've had a couple of people not get interviews. I've had one placement that I made, but it was a barrier. I had to really coach and counsel both sides, and that person had to promise to sort of start one as soon as they started in the job. So if you don't have one, really important to get one. More so in Australia and the UK, but I'm seeing the beginnings of that in Asia as well, the resistance to people that don't have them. Most people do now, and so it's important to then get one set up and be active. So there used to be this perception amongst people in the industry that if you're too active on LinkedIn, your boss is going to worry you're looking for a job.
Yes, I've heard that. Yes.
Yeah. And that was a perception that was very common, I would say 3 or 4 years ago. But, I think that's really dated, and no CMO would really think that now, particularly if you're consistent. It's not just every 3 years you're suddenly really active for 2 or 3 months and then go back to a dormant status.
Sure.
But if you think about LinkedIn, which is the relevant social media here, it's really the same game as it always was in terms of profile raising, just a different forum. So if you think about, 20 years ago even, the person that was able to get around a work social, speak to the people they needed to, engage in credible, relevant, intellectual conversation, get around the room and build their profile, was always going to get promoted over and above more quickly, unfortunately, it's an unfortunate truth, than the quiet achiever. It's the same thing with LinkedIn. And so if you are really focused on what your profile is, what you stand for, and building your profile, but also connecting with people proactively and engaging in conversation proactively, you're going to get noticed. And actually, if you are looking for a job, from a headhunter point of view, I'm really unlikely to reach out to somebody who doesn't have a photo, has less than 100 connections, and looks like they don't post, because it looks dormant, it looks ignored, it doesn't look like they want to engage with someone or hear from someone from LinkedIn. And hey, that might have been your dream job that you've not been approached about.
Right. Now, when you talk about posting, like if you're in a law firm and you're posting about something completely different and that's all you post about, that can look a bit weird, right? Because it doesn't show your knowledge of the industry. But how much of our personal life should we be posting in and, mixing with our business?
Yeah, I really like that question. So I actually think before you even start posting, it's going, what do I stand for? What are some themes and some key words that are going to keep me honest to what my professional profile is and what my personal profile is, to the extent I can weave it in. And if you don't have those words, if you don't know what those things are, you can actually go and use some free tools to help with sort of personal branding and what you can stand for. They're really easy to find on Google. So for myself personally, the professional words that I think sort of define who I am are sort of contribution, positivity, and outcomes. And then personally, the elements of my personal life that I think are relevant to weave in, and that's important. It's not what I put on Facebook and Instagram, but the things that are authentic to me that I can weave in are family. You know, I'm a working mum, so that's relevant professionally to me and many others. And also charity. I have always and still do engage in charity. I chair a board. So those are things that are relevant to a professional network in an authentic way. I can engage with people and talk about how, you know, I'm doing that in a way that's relevant to my profession. So first of all, work out what you stand for. I would say best practice with posts is to weave in a little bit of personal with professional where you can. Particularly in this time of COVID-19, there is this, you know, additional layer of lifting the veil on who you are personally happening on LinkedIn. But it's a fine balance to get it right. And if it slips too far into what you'd post on Facebook, you need to bring yourself back. You need to always perhaps go, what's the professional take on this? Why is this relevant to my community? And actually, just to the way you started the question as well, I think it's important to post about things that are relevant to your profession. So you might have a personal interest in what's going on in Silicon Valley and sort of the tech world, but that might not be relevant to your profession and who you're talking to and who your followers are on LinkedIn. So as a prof services marketer, you know, there are two themes to what you can talk about professionally and what you want to be seen to be engaging in. The first is professional services marketing, of course, but the second layer is if you are focused on energy partners or corporate and M&A, or if you are working for an architecture business, you know, the area that your partners are engaging in, you can talk about both areas. So it's two streams for this profession, but you need to keep it relevant, otherwise people will get confused.
Right. Yeah. When I talk to my colleagues, they say, oh, I just don't have enough time to write a full article for LinkedIn. I said, well, you don't really need to write a full article. All you need to do is maybe find someone you find interesting and comment on one of their posts or give some insight. I would say do a little bit more than just great article, right? So find some takeaways from the article and show that you actually read it and give some of your thought value, right, to that post.
Yeah, there's a few easy tips and tricks for sort of getting these posts up that I've found has helped me. I mean, first of all, you can literally just pick an hour that's going to work for you in the week, and you can make that the same hour every week.
Okay.
You know, maybe it's even before the day starts. That's what I do. So, you know, I'm an early riser. You know, mine starts at 7:30 that hour. So you might go 7:30 on a Wednesday, 9 o'clock at night on a Thursday, whatever it is, when you're going to have some uninterrupted time. And that's when I might write a couple of posts or think about the things that I want to post. So easy wins are if you listen to a webinar or if you go to, well, these days, online event or an in-person event when we're allowed again. And then what were your key takeaways? What were some of the insights? And you can mention the speakers. You know, you can use hashtags, but also the @ to mention the body that the organization that gave the event. And they really appreciate it because you are profiling their event and you're giving a summary of key takeaways. Now, it doesn't have to be an article or a blog. You know, you can actually have posts about this long that people can read through with dot points. They're useful. My business partner, Graham, he does a lot of commenting on other people's posts, and he always has an opinion. And he always goes, you know, I'm gonna actually get involved in this. I've got a real opinion and I'm not afraid to give it. So as you say, better to actually take the conversation somewhere. You don't have to be polarizing, but to give a thought and ask a question and be someone that contributes to conversation rather than just saying that's great.
Right. Now, we know LinkedIn is quite prevalent in terms of online profiling. Are there any other platforms or tools that we can use or that law firms look at I know a lot of people keep their Facebook private, so law firm may not have access to that or
Yeah.
see it. But how about like Twitter or YouTube or some of the other platforms? Is that
Yeah,
look?
look, in this law firm marketing BD world, I would say LinkedIn is by far the most important. I don't think there's anything wrong. I think, in fact, there's everything right with keeping things like Facebook very private. What you will find is that people will Google you. So it's more about making sure that you've got privacy settings high and that there are no problems to be found when you're Googled. There's no reason for you to have to sort of have your professional brain on when you're posting on sort of Facebook and Instagram. You just don't want to, have any inappropriate problems for people to find. So privacy is high. Twitter is one that a lot of people still use, but people who are
Yeah.
more expert than I in digital tell me that that's actually decreasing,
Okay.
and that's not something that that they perceive will have growth. But if you're going to be on LinkedIn, same rules apply as LinkedIn in terms of content.
So, as a recruiter, can you give us some sort of behind the scenes look at how you actually find candidates? I'm sure you use something like Sales Navigator or something to locate people in specific countries that your clients are looking for. So how
Yeah.
does that work? How do headhunters actually find us on LinkedIn?
Yeah, wow, I can lift the veil on recruitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the first place that we start is our network. So, if people have connected with us in the past, even if that was a few years ago, we'll remember who they are and we'll have notes of that conversation. So, being connected with us person to person is the first way of building your profile. Secondly, we would then ask the people in our network who they know. So this is before we even get onto online profile. And so it's really sort of that reputation. Who I might call you and say, who have you worked with in the past or come across in the past in Bangkok that you actually really rate and they've got a great reputation? Who should I be calling? So again, I would start there. But then we do come to the online piece, and we do live in a world of LinkedIn. So we do have a product called LinkedIn Recruiter, and people are able to update whether they are open to opportunities or not on this tool. So, for example, you might do that and your employer wouldn't see it, but anybody who wasn't your employer would be able to see it. And I wasn't sure when this product came out how much trust there would be in that, but people seem very happy to use it. And that indicates to someone like me, maybe I'll contact that person first. But frankly, if you're active on LinkedIn and you've got a full profile with a professional photo and the information and you're making regular posts, I'll find you anyway.
I see. All right, great. Now, when you're giving these candidates to the law firms, here, look at these five candidates. Is there anything that has really wowed them when it comes to the profile that really caught them like, oh, this guy looks pretty good. This girl looks great from their LinkedIn profile specifically? Was it long posts or?
Yeah, look, honestly, I think it's as much about sort of keeping up and not having gaps and not leaving a problem rather than something that someone's done on LinkedIn that's particularly wowed them. I think people can look more interactive and more involved in the conversation. But I think it's as much about having a really great profile and sort of keeping up rather than this one thing that wowed somebody. If I'm really honest, because so many people are doing it well, it's almost like you need to keep up and do it well as well. It's like having a great resume. You need a great resume. You need a great LinkedIn profile. They're both things that everybody should have now. Reputationally, I think it's just really, really important to be mindful that this is a small industry. Whether you're a law firm marketer in London, Glasgow, Bangkok, or Sydney, you could fly to the other end of the world and apply for a job, and somebody in that firm knows you and
Yes,
remembers you. And I think it's worth sharing this story. It's different from online profile, but it shows how important reputation is in everything you do. I once had I had to really battle to get this perfect candidate a first interview for this job. They were perfect. And the hiring manager remembered that person from 10 years ago when they were really, really junior, and they were on a not-for-profit committee with them. And they phoned it in. It was like their boss told them to be there. They weren't interested. They didn't go the extra mile. And that hiring manager remembered it. And they created this barrier. And they walked into that first round interview at a major disadvantage, not that I could tell them, because of, not doing everything to their very best and, 10 years ago. So whatever seniority you are, whatever realm you're in, reputation is everything.
Okay, so real world connections really do trump, and then your LinkedIn profile is just there to back that up, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And can I say, some people who are really, really into LinkedIn sometimes send me their LinkedIn profile thinking they don't need to do a resume. I would love it as well if resumes stopped being important, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. People want to see the resume as well. So I'm sorry, you just have to do double the work these days.
One final thing I want to get your insight, because you're living in LinkedIn every day, right? They were
Yeah.
acquired by Microsoft maybe a year or two ago. Have you seen any developments with that? Is there anything that's going to impact, how we do CRM or anything with the Microsoft connection and LinkedIn?
I mean, my personal, view that I can give on this is only through my day-to-day use of LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And I think LinkedIn has always been a tool and will continue to be a tool whereby they are constantly making changes. They're, of course, constantly looking for different ways they can monetize it, but also constantly looking for different ways that they can keep us connected and keep us reliant on this tool. So I think it will be something that always evolves. It'll be something that's really important for us all to therefore keep up with. The fact that you can do live videos now in the same way you can do with Instagram. So that's something that's new. I haven't seen a lot of people in our industry use it yet. If I'm honest, I've not used it yet either. Maybe
I
I
haven't
should
either.
give it
Been
a go.
meaning to
This
look
might
into
be
that function.
inspiration to me to do that. But I think we just all are going to have an evolving platform in front of us to continue to need to keep up with. But I don't see people moving away from it anytime soon. I think it's here to stay, and will just get more and more important in our working lives.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much for speaking with us today. Where can we get in contact with you? LinkedIn, obviously. Where else can we get in touch?
Absolutely. Connect with me on LinkedIn. That would be the first place, Katie Rosser. But also you can have a look at our website, which is seldonrosser.com.au, SELDONROSSER. We've actually got a lot of articles and podcasts on there that help people with their careers in this space as well.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That was fun.